Hey Neppers, it's me, Wild Neptune, and I'm gonna bring you the information you need on the Challenger Dominial recall that's happening right now. So if you have a Cdom that maybe you don't use, maybe it's a dupe that you had at level 50, or maybe you just want another hero very badly, this is your chance right now. So I'm wondering what the recall was all about. Well, let's do this, and let's head to Challenger Dominial right now. So, see here, I've one at level 60, and I do have a spare one I raised beforehand. I believe you had to have them at 50 before the recall period. That seems to be par, and I believe you have 2 weeks to do this, so until next maintenance. The change was simply they changed the skill description of the S2 to say stackable attack instead of damage, which it was always attack, it was never damage, but it is a pretty big difference in what it says, right? So that's why there's a recall, and as you see here, you do get a selector ticket. So this video will be going over the MO 4 stars, and well, which one you might want to pick up. So let's go sort by grade here and move on down. This will be a very brief overview of some of them, and I'll not go over all of them. So if I don't go over a hero, assume that you probably should not pick them, right? As a preface too, if it's your only Cdom, there's probably less incentive to trade her in. However, if you have a dupe, obviously you have a little more leeway, and maybe really want one of these heroes. So let's start with Shadow Rose. Shadow Rose, surprisingly decent in PvE now. Really no PvP usage at all. However, she's really good in as a Mechalus 13, the Bug Hunt, because of her strip on her S2 with Defense Break, nice push and AoE on the S3, maybe to damage some of the eggs, give you an effectiveness buff, which helps lower her gear requirement a little bit. So, not a bad option. That said, A13 is a hunt that can be done with other knights too. Just maybe I just play around with the gearing a little bit. So, Carmen is another decent knight. Now, she's definitely more for PvP. She does have some niche PvE usage, but not as important as what she brings to PvP with her damage reduction on the S2. Even though I have brought her out a little more often now in PvP, she's not a knight I'd use for like early to mid game players. She's more of like a late game tech option against certain compositions, because she's pretty susceptible to like things like Bazaar or Bryceria, right? And isn't going to be as universally used as other knights like a Raz, Flurry, a Tywin, ML Crow, FCC, stuff like that, right? And there's actually another knight in the selectors that you might want to consider before her. But an okay option, but not incredibly used all the time. Cesardo, I feel like this is a hero that a lot of people are going to go for. Ironic, because he's also the last MO 4 star that got nerfed. So, and I kind of feel like a lot of people actually traded in their Cesarados for Cdom, which is kind of funny to think about, but he's really good. Like, obviously, he's good against debuffers. So strong against stuff like the T-Surin, things like Fairy Tail, Cerise. He's decent against too. Pretty good also in Raid. Has a lot of value in PvE if you don't really care about your speed. Like a lot of PvE stuff with Cesardo on auto is kind of slow, right? But I don't care about how fast you're going. He's definitely a good option there. Relatively easy to gear, in terms of how flexible he is in his what he can use. Don't expect to use him though all the time in PvP. Debuffers that are not named like a Tywin, at least like compositions that rely on debuffers, have kind of fallen out of favor recently, and with things like GPergus running around and sometimes countering onto him can be, you know, maybe a little bit risky. So he's definitely not as common of a counter pick these days, but still something you might want to have in your arsenal of units, you know, just in case. So also moving down here, we'll get to we'll look at God of Aether very quickly, and this isn't because he's a good unit or anything like that. And this is only for people who really have a dupe Cdom that they don't know what to do with, and that they can recall. And this is because when you transmit a 4-star hero that's max imprinted, you get 80 transmit stones, I believe. So you get a net of 80 minus the 6 that you would, or however many normal items you have to use in. So like 74 transmit stones. I think it's 80. I might be wrong, right? But you get a lot of transmit stones. And transmit stones are important for things like Binomial Agoras, artifact charms, those boxes, stuff like that. So Kitty Carissa is another hero you might want to look at. She's really good for a lot of PvE in terms of the higher endgame ones like Expeditions, Hall of Trials stuff. Decent, actually a core part of a lot of the Abyss Cheese teams that have been popping up and everything like that too. So surprisingly, a lot of PvE capability, and you know, a good counter pick in PvP. Used less often than Cesardo, right? But when you do bring her out for PvP, she's definitely going to do a lot of work if you can get her gear on point. She is one of the harder units to gear that's going to be mentioned on this list, so just do keep it in mind. So even though her overall investment is pretty low, you only need this one Molagora into her. She does take a little while to get online for PvP. For PvE, she's actually very easy to gear. So GPergus is the next one I want to talk about, and I don't think I had to explain why he's good. He's a menace in PvP right now. His passive is very strong. In Wyvern Hunt, obviously, he boosts your team, and he kills the Wyvern faster. In RTA, well, he gets hit, he boosts your team, and well, you kill the enemy team faster. Crazy dual attack imprint here. S3 attack buffs and stuns. The whole shabam that he's using right now. So if you do not have a GPergus, I would recommend you do pick him up if you don't use Cdom right now and have no real plans to in the future. The other one is Troublemaker Crozet, who's been seeing a lot more play now, as a substitute or like a different type of knight instead of FCC, because now FCC has become a pretty popular pre-ban, and a lot of the times players who do that, they do pick up the Troublemaker Crozet. I have found that a lot of players now, though, because of this, kind of rely on him for the compositions to work. Because, don't get me wrong, he has turned into a reasonably good knight, right? And protector. But a lot of the builds that heroes, DPS heroes use when they're paired with him are slightly different than the typical builds. So do keep that in mind, that you might have to play around with your roster's gearing and stats a little bit before you get the most use out of him. And you do kind of develop like a dependency on him being in your team when you do that. But hey, if you don't have something like FCC and your only other like defensive knight is maybe a blue crow, he might be worth picking up too. Now, I probably would not pick him up before GPergus, but definitely an option you might want to consider. The last one I'll talk about here is Cesardo, and I think that everybody knows how good Cesardo is. She has a really good passive. She's been excellent in Guild Wars defense for the past couple months now. Still okay on arena defense, and decent in RTA, even if she's, you know, kind of fall off a little bit there due to stuff like, you know, ML Crow, A Tyrant, GPergus, stuff like that existing. But when you do need a pretty big, hard to remove unit that can reach with her AoE under things like, say, a Spectre or a Squishy or Arby, Cesardo is a great option to pick up. Now, quick recap. The heroes that I would highly recommend you take a look at would be Cesardo, Kitty, GPerg, Troublemaker Crozet, Cesardo, with some minor consideration for like things like maybe Carmen or like Shadow Rose, right? Of course, if you already have these heroes, you're probably just gonna pick your favorite one from the ones you don't have. You might notice the only one I don't have is Kawana, so I already know what I'm trading mine in for. I just have to wait to see if I want the molars from the plus 15 one, or if I don't care. And this is the other thing I'll say too. You have a while before the recall period ends, right? Like I said, I believe it's 2 weeks up until the next maintenance. Check Stove though to double check, just in case I'm wrong there. But you don't have to do it right away. You can wait and see, especially because there might be a buff announcement soon too, or balance patch announcement, and maybe some of these heroes, these 4 stars, maybe one of them will be buffed, and if you don't have that one, you know, maybe you'll want to get that one instead, right? Who knows? So it's not a race. You have time. So, and again, you know, if it's like one hero because like the way they look, you know, that's fine, right? Just here to help you make the most informed decision you can. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful to everybody. Once again, make sure that you check me out at Twitch at twitch.tv/WildNeptune. It's been a good one. Nep out.